Hello guys, today we're going to be tying another fly for the channel. This one's proven particularly effective in the last 2 years on my syndicate. It's a black buzzer with a Chartreuse thorax, and we use UV resins with it to seal it all in. So we'll get started. You're going to need 2 threads for this one. You need uni thread 8/0 in black, and if you're lucky enough to have a second bobbin, Chartreuse 8/0 uni thread. We're going to be tying it because this one's for display. I'm doing a little display. It's going to be on a size 10 B100, which is the lighter wire. It'll work great on a size 10, but the sizes that are more effective are 12 and 14, from what I've learned. And so this one's on a size 10 because it's going in a case. So we're going to start with a black thread. Now it's important you do close turns with this particular one. You don't want the hook showing through, because you're going to be putting on as little thread as you can possibly get away with. You want it to be quite skinny, because when you add the UV resin on, it starts to get quite bulky. Now you can probably chop off the tag there, and you get your rib, which is a silver Madeira. That one, holographic. It's a very nice fine holographic thread. You could call it a tinsel. There we are, tie it in on the top of the hook like so. And then you want to do close turns. All the way down to where the tight bend of the hook starts. You don't want to punch it up like that. That's me not concentrating on what I'm doing. There we go. That will do it there, right in the middle of the bend. Then you want to come back up, close turns, or close-ish. And you want to go nearly all the way back down. We want to stop about there. And come back up. Same again. All the way down. And you want to stop about there. Any rubbish on the thread, you've got to get rid of it. Fluff, anything. mainly because it will show through the resin. And that'll do it. Now you want to stop probably about there for the thorax. That seems to be about the right size that I prefer. You want to wind the rib. You want it fairly close together. You want quite a few turns. Put your finger there to stop it sliding off, like so. Once you get to about there, you don't need to use your finger anymore. You can maintain the tension by just holding onto the tinsel. Let me thread's moved. There we go. And then tie it in. Then you're going to half hitch and change your thread. Doesn't have to be terribly neat because you're going to be tying over the top of it in a sec with the other thread. Trim away, and then grab your other thread. Then you're going to build up a thorax with this. Now you can use floss, but I'm not a fan of floss. For some reason it just falls apart for me, floss. You want to go to about there for the thorax. Trim away. Sorry about the squeaking noises, it's my bobbin. It works fine with some spools, but this particular spool is really noisy. So you just want to keep going backwards and forwards, relatively close turns, building up a sort of a head, I suppose. Now originally I used to tie the thorax with black latex, but it's quite hard to work with. It likes to slip from underneath your thread turns. So I've come up with a new way of doing the thorax. Which I'll show you in a minute. Right, so that's the fly pretty much finished. You want to half hitch to finish, or whip finish, depending on what you're able to do. That's 3. Then trim as close as you dare. So this is where the skill comes in with this particular pattern, if I'm honest. We're going to be using a UV resin. This is a Vineyard one. That's clear, low viscosity with a fine tip. So we're going to start with the applying the resin to the thorax, just to seal the thorax in and your half hitch. I'm going to loosen the rotary vise and utilise that. Close to the end of the where you did your half hitch as possible without going into the eye. If you go into the eye and set it, you'll need a drill to get it out. You just check for any lumps and bumps, and you can smooth them out with either extra resin or just by using the applicator. It sits quite nice after a while. It's quite runny, so you can use gravity to help you as well to get the shape that you want. And I think we're pretty much there. There you go, and then you hit it when you like the shape that you see. With a UV torch. There we go. And then tighten it off again on your rotary tool. And then I've got these for doing the thorax. I had these from work. It's a UV activated nail polish, and it's fantastic for doing a really nice smooth thorax. Obviously the brush is quite meaty, so you just put like literally a thin line on the top, like so, and then you get your dubbing needle and you start working it to get the right shape that you want. You can take your time because it won't set, and if you're tying in direct sunlight it will, but if you're indoors you've got all the time in the world with it to get it right. You need quite a steady hand. Now you can get the black UV varnishes, fly time ones, official fly time ones, but I found that they seem to be quite see-through in comparison to this one that I'm using now. And if you think you need a little bit more, at this stage I would probably apply it to your needle. And when you've got the effect that you want, you can just set it just like any UV resin. You have to give it a bit of extra UV to get to harden properly and to set. Just going to put a dab more close to the eye. Make sure you've got a tissue handy. There you are, then you grab your clear one and you start doing the body. Now I normally start, I've got it angled so that I can see what I'm doing, but you need to start about there and seal in the hook as well as the thread. Now don't put too much force on the back of the fly, because that thread, that thread tinsel will slip and it'll completely ruin the fly if it moves. You want it so there's an even but thin coverage over the whole body, including underneath. If you want to just seal it in, you can put a light layer of clear over the black. Like so. Now I don't know whether you can see, but in the bend of the hook you can see where it's sort of run. You normally get that if you've used the fraction too much, so you just scrape it off like so. It's quite wasteful, but you want to get the finish right. Have a quick look, see if there's any thread showing. You need to have good lighting to do that. There is a little bit at the top there. Right, we're going to set that. Might be able to hear a low flying aircraft, sorry about that. can see a few spots on it that need a bit more, mainly down the back there. And then I've got another varnish. This is a normal nail varnish, but the brush hasn't been cut. And you want this to be fairly runny. If it's thick, it's not going to work properly for you. And you want to seal it in with this varnish. It's a light coat, very light coat. On top, underneath. And when that dries, it'll be a perfect finish, glossy, it won't go dull, and you can handle it all day long without it affecting the resin. So what you'll find is with UV resins is they're very good and they do set. They do need a top coat of varnish on them. And there we are, that's a black buzzer with a Chartreuse thorax.